citizens of Uganda if their Baganda-ness is allowed to manifest. The Acholi are only good citizens of Uganda if their Acholiness is allowed to manifest. The Basoga are only good citizens of Uganda if their Basoga-ness is allowed to manifest. If you suppress that, then they become a danger to the thing called Uganda. And that is what Professor Ali Mazrui writes in his book, The Power of Babel. Not the tower, the power of Babel. That this diversity can be dealt with in a manner that it strengthens us so that we have unity in diversity. Not the unity of the graveside, where there is silence which cannot be interpreted, is unity of purpose. The question is this judiciary capable of doing it? Let me take the simple question of the institution of marriage. When we were trained as lawyers in the common law system, you'll remember us being told that marriage is the union of one man and one woman to the exclusion of all others. When Telford Georges, that West Indian, was called upon to convict a person in Uganda prior to independence, and the man was charged with the offense of bigamy, said that he would not do so because that is not in keeping with the realities in Tanganyika then. He refused to accept that African customary law is only good as it is not repugnant to justice and morality. Because the question, whose justice, whose morality? Because in some African societies, marriage is the union of one man and one woman to the inclusion of all others. And if that therefore is the case, we must have a judicial system that acknowledges that reality. The Kenyan constitution, and I believe the Ugandan constitution now contemplates that polygamy is a recognized institution, and that you can register. The Kenyan constitution allows it, that you can register, this is my wife number 1, wife number 2, wife number 3. The only thing is that you must make a decision at the very beginning. In other words, if you think you can be or you may be polygamous, don't enter into a union that excludes you. Don't go to the Attorney General's chambers. Don't go to a church, because that then becomes monogamous until you divorce. But if you go to Basoga customary law, Jopadola, Allure, then you are good to go. I'm saying this because it is important, because when we talk about social harmony, this is what must be done by the judiciary. The other thing that I'll talk about is land. Land in the capitalist system, when they came here, they told us that land is something that is the basis of commerce. And they came here with the whole idea that our lands were not owned by anybody. So in Kenya, we have a famous case called the Mulwa Gwanobi case, involving the Jibana peoples. When the British wanted to subdivide land, the people told them that land belongs to nobody, it belongs to God. The British administrator said, yes, we know it belongs to God, but the British administers it on behalf of God. And that is the basis on which you then have it registered as crown lands. If that be the case, if you want to create social harmony, how do you deal with land in Uganda? Amongst the Baganda, how do you deal with what you call the Milo land? How do you deal with land that is owned by the kings in Bunyoro Kitara? How does it become a factor of production? Because you are talking about social harmony and you are talking about economic transformation. Because if you don't take this into account, then you are going to suffer. And let me give you a very practical example. The Lapset, which was to be the pipeline from Lake, I don't like calling these things Lake Albert, Lake Mutanzike, or Lake Bonyo, which you call Lake Albert. The pipeline was to move from that area through to Uganda, through to Kenya, and through to Lamu, Lapset. This is not said, but one of the reasons why it failed was because of compensation. On the Tanzanian side, because of the Nyerere doctrine of land, that land belongs to the state, there was no compensation, among other things. How do you deal with that? Because if you don't deal with it, then an economic project will collapse. I'm still talking about socio-economic transformation and the role of the judiciary. In other words, a judiciary must be a judiciary that is sensitive to the realities of the environment in which they are operating. If the judiciary is not separate and is not sensitive to that reality, then that judiciary will sooner become irrelevant and will be ignored by the executive without consequence. But am I suggesting for one moment that every executive fiat and diktat must be followed, that the judiciary must kowtow to the executive at all times or to the legislature? No. I'm not saying so. I am saying that what must happen is that it is incumbent upon the judiciary at all times to ensure that what it does is in the general good. But that begs the question, what is in the general good? What is in the general? Who is to be the judge of that which is in the general good? This is what your African presidents will tell you. The African president will tell you, I went throughout my country. I talked to the people. I was doing so on the basis of a manifesto. The people then elected me. And what I'm doing is in the best interest of the people. I told them that I would do this in land. I told them that I would do this as regards interest rates. I told them that I would do this as regards all critical areas of the society. And therefore, you who are elected by nobody, that's what they'll tell you. You who are elected by nobody, you have no business to tell me what to do. And if you doubt me, look at what is happening in the United States of America now. By dint of executive fiat, agreements that were long settled are being disturbed. Things which you thought were constitutionally settled are being disturbed. And the judiciary does not know what to do. How does the judiciary behave in such an environment as an agent of change? I know this is sensitive, but I'll say it regardless because I'm flying out later in the evening. You, the honorable judges of the Supreme Court, have just made a decision that a civilian should not be tried in a military court. There is what I call executive pushback, as is expected. The question is, did you make the right decision in accordance with acceptable international law? Yes, you did. Yes, you did. The question is that acceptable now? Politically, your decision is considered to be politically incorrect. In 50 years' time, you will be vindicated. And that is what warriors of justice must do at certain times. That which is unpopular now may much later be seen to be significant in the manner in which it pushes the agenda. I still have 20 minutes, so I have the luxury of some time. I'm told that I have 40, but I'll not be like the Pharisees who speak for so long that they are then ignored. But I want to remind you, when you are in high school, about decisions about laws. You remember a book that was written by Robert Bolt called A Man for All Seasons.